Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into some really powerful ideas from the book Learn Like Einstein that might just completely rewire the way you think about learning. Okay, so let's start with something we've all felt, right? You spend hours, maybe even days, studying something, and then a week later, poof, it's gone. It feels like your brain is just a leaky bucket. But what if I told you the problem isn't your brain at all? It's the rules of the game you've been taught to play by. So to kick things off, we need to shatter the single biggest lie about learning that's been holding pretty much all of us back. Think about it. From our very first day in school, it's drilled into us: avoid failure, get the right answer, get the A, don't make mistakes. But this book argues that's a massive, massive lie. In fact, it says that the struggle, that feeling of your brain stretching and straining to find an answer, that's not a sign of failure. That's the moment learning actually begins. The book calls this idea productive failure, and there's this fascinating study that shows it in action. Researchers took two groups of students. The first group got all the help they needed to solve a set of problems. The second group, they were told to just struggle through it on their own. And get this, the second group didn't get a single answer right. But later, when both groups were tested on what they had actually learned, the group that struggled and failed completely blew the other group out of the water. So if struggle is the key, then that must mean its opposite, just passively sitting there, is the real enemy. This brings us to what we could call learning's active ingredient. And it's the huge difference between just being exposed to information and actually truly getting it. Just take a look at this learning pyramid. It's kind of shocking, right? The retention rates for passive stuff like just listening to a lecture or reading a book are incredibly low. But watch what happens as you start moving down the pyramid and get more active. The numbers don't just go up, they skyrocket. This is where real learning ignites. And look at that number at the very bottom, 90%. A stunning 90% retention rate when you teach the information to someone else. That one insight points to an incredibly powerful tool for deep understanding. So the question is, how do we get that effect without having to find a classroom to teach in? Well, that question brings us right to a brilliant technique for making sure you don't just memorize a bunch of facts, but that you genuinely comprehend them. It's called the Feynman Technique, and it's a super simple 4-step process. You just pick a concept, and then you try to explain it in the simplest terms you can think of, like you're talking to a kid. Now, the real magic happens in step 3, because when you're forced to be that simple, you can't hide behind complicated words or jargon. You immediately slam right into the parts you don't actually get. You see, the power here isn't just about learning. It's like a diagnostic tool. It shows you exactly where your blind spots are before you move on. Okay, but once you have that deep understanding, how do you make sure it sticks around for good? And that brings us to the final piece of our toolkit, a system for fighting back against our brain's natural and kind of annoying tendency to forget things. The method is called a spaced repetition. And the idea is pretty straightforward. Instead of cramming everything into one marathon session, you strategically space out your review sessions over time. Every time you review the information, it's like sending a signal to your brain that says, hey, pay attention, this is important, keep it. Think of your brain like a muscle. If you lift weights for 8 hours straight, you're just gonna hurt yourself. But if you lift for a bit, rest, and come back, you get stronger. It's the same idea. A schedule like this one, spaced out over a week, is way more effective than one long study session. You're actually building long-term memory, not just cramming for a test you'll forget tomorrow. So we've got the right mindset with productive failure, the right tool with the Feynman technique, and the right system with spaced repetition. But what if there was one final shortcut that could make all of this feel almost effortless? The book offers this one last, really powerful reframe that ties everything together. And Einstein? Well, he just nailed the essence of it perfectly. The most powerful kind of learning doesn't even feel like learning at all. And here it is. The ultimate shortcut is to stop making learning the main goal. Instead, find a project or a goal that is so compelling, so exciting to you that learning just becomes a necessary and totally effortless side effect of doing what you love. So instead of asking yourself, what should I learn next? Maybe the better question to leave you with is this. What goal is so important to you, so meaningful, that you would gladly master anything to achieve it? Find the answer to that, and you might never have to study another day in your life.